Lieutenant Du Young stood at the observation window of the human Space Force ship Resilient, watching the stars drift by. His repair team was the best in the fleet, but today he felt nervous. He had to train a new crew member, and in space, one small mistake could mean death. The door opened with a soft hiss. Engineer Hannah walked in, her new uniform still crisp and clean. She was young, but her test scores were the highest the Academy had seen in 10 years. "Lieutenant," she said, standing straight. "Reporting for training." Do Young turned and smiled. "At ease, engineer. First lesson. In the repair team, we're more relaxed. Quick thinking is more important than perfect posture." Hannah relaxed her shoulders but still looked tense. Du Young led her to a large screen showing the ship's systems. "Tell me," he said, "what did they teach you about emergency repairs at the Academy?" "They taught us to follow the safety rules. Check all systems twice. Never rush repairs," Hannah answered quickly. Do Young laughed. "Forget all of that. In real space battles, we don't have time for double checks. We repair ships while they're being shot at." Hannah's eyes went wide. "But sir, that's impossible." The Academy said. An alarm cut through the air. Red lights flashed across the room. "Perfect timing," Du Young said with a grin. "Time for your first real lesson." The ship's computer spoke. "Warning. Damage to cargo section. Hull breach detected." "Follow me," Du Young ordered, running to the equipment room. Hannah stayed close behind him. They quickly put on their repair suits, special spacesuits made for fixing ships. The suits were thick enough to stop small debris, but light enough to move easily in. "But sir," Hannah said as she checked her suit's air supply, "why don't we wait until the ship reaches a safe port for repairs?" "Because, Engineer Hannah, humans are different from other species in the galaxy. They give up too easily. When their ships get damaged, they run away to safety." Du Young grabbed his tool belt. "But we humans? We fix things. Right here. Right now. Even if we're still in danger." They ran to the repair pod bay. The pods looked like small spaceships, just big enough for 2 people and lots of tools. Du Young jumped into the pilot's seat of the nearest pod, and Hannah got in beside him. The pod shot out of the Resilient into open space. Hannah gasped. A large hole had been torn in the ship's side, probably hit by space debris. Air and small pieces of metal were floating out into space. "Watch and learn," Du Young said. He moved the pod close to the damage. With skilled hands, he controlled the pod's repair arms, metal arms with tools attached that could work outside while they stayed safe inside. "First rule of emergency repairs," he said as he worked, "is to think creatively. Sometimes you don't have the right parts. Sometimes you have to make new solutions." Hannah watched in amazement as Do Young used the repair arms to pull a broken piece of hull back into place. He then sprayed it with emergency sealant foam, a human invention that hardened quickly in space. "Second rule," Du Young continued, "is to be quick but thorough. Better to fix it well enough now and properly later than not fix it at all." In just 15 minutes, the hole was sealed. It wasn't pretty, but it would keep the air inside the ship where it belonged. "That's amazing," Hannah said. "I've never seen repairs done so fast." Do Young smiled as he piloted the pod back to the ship. "This was an easy one. Wait until you have to fix an engine while dodging enemy fire. That's when it gets fun." Hannah looked worried, but there was excitement in her eyes too. "Will you teach me how to do that?" "That's why you're here," Du Young said. "Humans are the best emergency repair specialists in the galaxy because we never give up. We fix things others say can't be fixed. And soon, you'll be doing the same." As they docked with the Resilient, Hannah realized she had joined something special. This wasn't just a repair team. It was a group of people who did the impossible every day. And somehow, she knew her life would never be the same. The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council sparkled with lights. Representatives from 20 different alien species sat around a massive table. Lieutenant Du Young and Engineer Hannah stood with the other human delegates, feeling nervous but proud. This was the first time humans had been invited to a major diplomatic meeting. "The human Space Force has shown great progress," said Ambassador Rill, a tall blue alien with 4 arms. "We welcome their addition to our peaceful alliance." Hannah watched the other species carefully. Some looked pleased, others seemed unsure. Humans were still new to space travel compared to these ancient races. Many thought humans were too unpredictable, too willing to take risks. Do Young leaned close to Hannah and whispered, "Stay alert. Something doesn't feel right." He had barely finished speaking when the alarm started. Red lights flashed across the hall's crystal ceiling. A voice boomed through the speakers. "Warning. Unknown vessels approaching. Hostile intent detected." The alien diplomats started to panic. Through the huge windows, Hannah could see strange ships appearing. They were black as space itself, shaped like giant crystals. They moved in perfect formation, surrounding the space station. "The Void Collective," Ambassador Rill said, his voice shaking. "They never come this far into our space." The first shots hit the station. The whole structure shook. More alarms sounded as systems started failing. The alien representatives rushed toward their ships, following their standard emergency procedures. "Lieutenant," Hannah called out, "the station's shield generator is hit. They're evacuating, but if those shields fail completely..." Do Young was already moving. "Then we fix it. Follow me." They ran through the chaos, heading for their repair pod. Other humans from their delegation joined them, grabbing emergency repair gear from storage lockers. "You cannot," Ambassador Rill called after them. "The damage is too severe. We must evacuate." But the humans ignored him. Du Young, Hannah, and 3 other repair crews launched their pods while the alien ships retreated. The Void Collective's crystal ships fired continuous beams of energy at the station. "Hannah, take the controls," Du Young ordered. "I'll handle the repairs. Remember your training." Hannah guided their pod through the battlefield with steady hands. Energy beams flashed past them as she positioned them near the damaged shield generator. Through the pod's window, she could see the other human repair teams also at work, fixing different parts of the station. Do Young worked quickly with the repair arms. Sparks flew as he reconnected broken power lines. Hannah had to keep moving the pod to avoid enemy fire, but Du Young never lost his focus. The alien diplomats watched from their ships in amazement. No one had ever tried to make repairs during an active attack. It was considered impossible, suicidal even. "Shield power at 40%, the station's computer announced. 41%, 45%. The Void Collective ships adjusted their attack, now targeting the repair pods. But Hannah had learned well. She dodged and weaved, keeping their pod just stable enough for Du Young to work. "Shield power at 75%, the computer said. 80%, 85%. Finally, the shield generator hummed back to life. A blue energy field spread across the station, stronger than before. The Void Collective's weapons could no longer break through. When the enemy ships retreated, the alien diplomats returned to the station. They found the human repair teams already checking their work, making sure everything was secure. Ambassador Rill approached Du Young and Hannah. All 4 of his hands were trembling. We have never seen anything like this," he said. "You fixed the station while under attack. You risked your lives when our own people fled. It's what we do," Du Young said simply. "Humans don't give up on things that can be fixed." Hannah saw the way the aliens looked at them now, with respect, but also with confusion. Humans were different, yes, but maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Commander Jeho stood in front of the Galactic Council, his new invention floating beside him. The repair pod looked different from the older models, sleeker, faster, and packed with new technology. After the recent Void Collective attack, the Council had asked humans to share their repair methods. Jeho had spent months preparing for this moment. "This is the Mark II battlefield repair pod," Jai-Ho said, his voice clear and confident. It can fix ships 3 times faster than our current pods, even under heavy fire. The alien representatives murmured among themselves. Ambassador Rill leaned forward, all 4 arms crossed. Commander, with respect, your current repair methods are already dangerous. Making repairs faster will only put more lives at risk. Jai-Ho smiled. That's why we added better protection. He pressed a button on his control pad. The blue shield appeared around the pod, shimmering in the council chamber's light. New energy shields, reinforced hull plating, and advanced navigation systems. This pod keeps repair crews safer while they work. Lieutenant Du Young and Engineer Hana watched from their seats. They had helped test the new pod design. Hana remembered how smooth it felt to fly, how precise the repair arms were. We demand a demonstration, said one of the council members, a tall alien with scales that changed color as it spoke. I was hoping you would say that, Jai-Ho replied. He turned to Du Young and Hana. Would my best repair team like to show them? They walked to the space station's launch bay, where a test ship waited. The council had damaged it on purpose. Broken engines, torn hull plates, and disabled weapons. They said no repair team could fix it in less than 2 hours. Du Young and Hana climbed into the new pod. The inside felt bigger than their old one, with better screens showing every angle around them. The repair arms responded to the lightest touch. Remember, Jai-Ho said through their radio, this is just like practice. Show them what humans can do. The pod launched smoothly. Hana flew while Du Young controlled the repair arms. They had worked together so many times now, they barely needed to speak. They knew what the other would do. The council watched as the pod moved around the damaged ship. Its new shields glowed whenever debris floated too close. The repair arms moved faster than seemed possible, but every movement was perfect. Adding power to the shields, Hana said as she positioned them near the broken engine. Starting repair sequence. Du Young's hands flew across the controls. The repair arms pulled broken parts back into place, sealed holes, and reconnected wires. The new pod's computer suggested the best fixes, but Du Young knew when to try something different. 30 minutes passed, then 40. The council members whispered in surprise as systems on the test ship started coming back online. Engine power restored, the ship's computer announced. Hull integrity at 95%. Weapons systems online. At exactly 45 minutes, Hana landed the pod back in the launch bay. The test ship hummed behind them, running better than it had before the damage. Commander Jai-Ho faced the council again. This is not just about fixing ships faster, he said. This is about saving lives. Every minute we save on repairs is another minute someone doesn't have to fight alone. The council chamber was quiet. Then Ambassador Rill stood up, all 4 arms raised in approval. The council has seen enough, he announced. We request that humans begin training repair crews from all species immediately. As they left the chamber, Hana turned to Du Young. Will other species really learn to repair ships like we do? Du Young watched Jai-Ho talking with the council members, already planning the training program. They'll learn, he said, because now they understand. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting. Sometimes it's staying to fix what's broken. The warning came at the worst possible time. Engineer Hana was sleeping when the alarms woke her. Red lights flashed through the crew quarters of the human Space Force ship Resilient. Emergency alert, the computer announced. Void Collective attacking civilian space station. All repair teams report for duty. Hana ran to the launch bay, pulling on her repair suit as she went. Lieutenant Du Young was already there, preparing the new Mark II repair pods. It's bad, he said as she arrived. The station has 5,000 civilians. The evacuation ships can't reach them because of the attack. Through the launch bay window, Hana saw the civilian station. It was huge, shaped like a wheel with 8 spokes. The Void Collective's black crystal ships surrounded it, firing their energy weapons. Parts of the station were already damaged, leaking air into space. All repair teams, launch now. Commander Jaiho's voice came through their radios. He was coordinating the response from the Resilience Bridge. Hana and Du Young jumped into their pod. 5 other repair pods launched with them, their blue shields glowing as they flew toward the station. Hana, take the lead, Du Young said suddenly. Your instincts are better than mine for this kind of situation. Hana felt her heart beat faster, but she nodded. She had trained for this. She guided their pod through the battlefield, dodging enemy fire. The new pod responded perfectly to every command. Main life support is failing, the station's computer reported. Shield generators offline. Hull breaches on levels 3 through 7. Team 1. Fix life support, Hana ordered through the radio. Team 2. Work on the hull breaches. We'll handle the shield generators. The other repair teams followed her orders without question. Hana flew their pod to the shield generator housing, using the station's bulk for cover. Multiple enemy ships approaching your position, Jaiho warned. Hana looked at their pod's screens. 3 Void Collective ships were coming toward them. But the shield generators had to be fixed, or everyone on the station would die. Du Young, start repairs, she said. I'll keep us alive. The Void Collective ships attacked, but Hana was ready. She moved the pod in complex patterns, never staying still for more than a second. Their shields flashed as they absorbed hits, but they held. Du Young worked faster than ever, his hands flying over the repair controls. Shield generator at 20%, 40%, 60%. More enemy ships joined the attack. Hana's world narrowed to the screens in front of her, to the constant dance of keeping their pods safe, while stable enough for repairs. Shield generator at 90%, Du Young reported. Just a few more seconds. A massive blast rocked their pod. Their own shields dropped to critical levels, but Hana held position. Done, Du Young shouted. The station's shields came back online, spreading out like a blue bubble. The Void Collective ships pulled back, unable to break through. All repair teams report, Jaiho called. One by one, the teams reported success. Life support restored. Hull breaches sealed. The station and its civilians were safe. When they returned to the Resilient, Commander Jaiho was waiting in the launch bay. Engineer Hana, he said formally, your performance today was exceptional. You showed exactly why humans are the best repair specialists in the galaxy. Hana looked at Du Young, who smiled proudly. I just did what humans do, she said. We fix things, no matter how hard it seems. That day, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. The story of human repair teams saving 5,000 civilians while under heavy fire became legendary. But for Hana, the most important thing was simpler. They had protected those who needed help, and they had done it together. The training room aboard the human Space Force ship Resilient was more crowded than ever before. Lieutenant Du Young stood at the front, looking at the strange mix of beings before him. There were tall, 4-armed aliens like Ambassador Rill, scaled beings whose colors shifted with their emotions, and even crystalline life forms that floated instead of walking. Engineer Hana moved between the groups, helping them put on human-designed repair suits. The suits had been modified to fit different body shapes, but they still looked odd on alien forms. Today, Du Young announced, you learn why humans never abandon a damaged ship. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared showing the ship under attack. We believe anything can be fixed if you're brave enough to try. Ambassador Rill raised one of his 4 hands. But Lieutenant, our species have always followed the logical path. When a ship is damaged, we retreat to safety. It is tradition. Traditions can change, Hana said, stepping forward. Watch this. She activated a repair pod simulator. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, showing how to fix a damaged engine while under fire. The aliens watched in amazement. Now you try, she said, setting up more simulators. The aliens were clumsy at first. Their movements were too careful, too slow. But they learned quickly. The four-armed species were especially good at handling multiple repair tools at once. The floating crystal beings could sense structural damage in ways humans couldn't. Commander Jaho entered the training room, smiling as he watched. "They're learning faster than expected," he said quietly to Du Young. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. "Alert! Void Collective ships detected. They are targeting repair crews." Du Young looked at the partly trained aliens. "Stay here," he started to say, but Ambassador Rill stepped forward. "No," Rill said firmly. "We will help. You have shown us your way. Now let us prove we can follow it." Hannah checked the ship's sensors. 3 Void Collective ships. They're attacking a cargo vessel. Mixed teams, Du Young decided quickly. 1 human, 1 alien per pod. "Hannah, you're with Ambassador Rill. Let's move." They launched in 5 pods, each one carrying a human and alien crew. The Void Collective ships were surprised by this new tactic. They didn't expect aliens to copy human repair methods. Hannah and Rill worked together smoothly. Rill's 4 arms controlled extra repair tools while Hannah flew the pod. Other teams showed similar success. The scaled aliens could change color to match space around them, making them harder to target. The crystal beings could predict where the enemy would shoot. "The Void Collective is changing their attack pattern," Jaiho reported from the Resilient. "They're specifically targeting repair pods now. They fear what we can do together," Du Young said as his pod sealed another hull breach. "They know we're stronger when we work as one." The battle lasted an hour. When it ended, the cargo ship was safe, and every repair pod had survived. The mixed crews returned to the Resilient tired but proud. In the launch bay, Hannah watched humans and aliens congratulating each other. Ambassador Rill approached her, all 4 arms raised in respect. "We were wrong," he said. "We thought human methods were reckless. Now we see they are brave. Today marks a new beginning for all our species." Du Young joined them, looking at the gathered crews. "This is just the start," he said. "Imagine what we can accomplish when we combine human courage with alien wisdom." The news spread quickly across the galaxy. Aliens were adopting human repair techniques. The Void Collective would soon face not just human repair crews, but teams from every species. The galaxy was changing, 1 repair pod at a time. The Galactic Council headquarters was the largest space station ever built. Today, it was under attack. Hundreds of Void Collective ships surrounded it, their black crystal forms blocking out the stars. Commander Jaho stood on the Resilience bridge, watching emergency signals flash across his screens. "This is the biggest attack they've ever launched," he said. "They want to end this war today." Lieutenant Du Young and Engineer Hannah prepared their repair teams. The launch bay was filled with mixed crews, humans working alongside aliens from 20 different species. They had trained together for months. Now they would face their greatest challenge. "The station's main defense grid is failing," Ambassador Rill reported, his 4 arms moving quickly over the communication controls. "Without it, we cannot hold them back." Hannah stepped forward. "I'll leave a team to fix it." Du Young started to object, but stopped himself. She wasn't a rookie anymore. She was the best repair pilot they had. "Take Rill with you," Jaiho ordered. "The rest of the teams will protect the station's other critical systems. Good luck, everyone." The repair pods launched into chaos. Energy beams from Void Collective ships filled space with deadly light. The station's remaining weapons fired back, creating a web of destruction the repair teams had to navigate through. Hannah and Rill flew their pod toward the defense grid's control center. 2 other pods followed them as backup. Through their viewport, they could see the massive damage. Power cables sparked in space. Metal plates drifted away from broken connections. "This is worse than anything we've trained for," Rill said. "Then we'll just have to work harder," Hannah replied, her hand steady on the controls. They reached the defense grid housing just as another Void Collective blast hit it. Their pod shields flashed blue, barely holding against the impact. The backup pods moved into protective positions, using their shields to create a safe zone for repairs. Hana and Rill began their work. Their movements were perfectly coordinated now, human creativity combined with alien precision. Rill's 4 arms controlled multiple repair tools while Hana kept them stable and watched for threats. Warning, their pod's computer announced. Enemy ships approaching. Detecting new weapon signatures. The Void Collective had brought something new. Crystal ships that were larger than the others moved forward. They fired strange beams that passed right through shields. All repair crews, be careful. Jaiho's voice came through their radios. These weapons are different. Don't let them hit you. Hana watched a repair pod get hit by one of the new beams. Its systems shut down immediately. The crew had to be rescued by another team. We're almost done, Rill said, reconnecting the last power cable to the defense grid. Just need 2 more minutes. Those were the longest 2 minutes of Hana's life. She moved their pod in constant motion, never staying still enough to be targeted. Their shields were failing. Warning lights flashed across their controls, but they didn't stop working. Defense grid coming online. The station's computer announced. Power levels rising. The station's weapons powered up, stronger than before. Energy beams shot out from all sides, driving back the Void Collective ships. Even their new weapons couldn't break through the restored defenses. When they landed back on the Resilient, the launch bay erupted in cheers. Humans and aliens celebrated together. They had faced the ultimate test and passed it. Commander Jaiho approached Hana and Rill. You've shown everyone what we can achieve together, he said. This victory belongs to all species. But Hana noticed something strange in the sensor data from their pod. The new Void Collective weapons had left unusual energy patterns. There was something about them that seemed almost familiar. The day was won, but Hana couldn't shake the feeling that they had just discovered something important. Something that would change everything they thought they knew about their enemy. Engineer Hana sat in the Resilience Science Lab, studying data from the recent battle. The strange energy patterns from the Void Collective's new weapons filled her screens. Lieutenant Du Young and Ambassador Rill stood behind her, watching as she worked. Look at this, Hana said, pointing to a pattern on her screen. These energy signatures, they're not weapons at all. They're repair beams. That's impossible, Rill said, all 4 arms moving in confusion. The Void Collective only destroys. They've never tried to repair anything. No, Hana replied. We just didn't understand what they were doing. She pulled up more data. These beams don't destroy systems. They try to change them, like they're trying to fix something they think is broken. Commander Jaiho entered the lab, carrying more sensor readings. Hana might be right, he said. We've analyzed attacks going back months. Every time the Void Collective hits something, they're not just damaging it. They're trying to transform it. Do Young leaned closer to the screens. Transform it into what? Hana pressed some buttons, and a new image appeared. It showed the molecular structure of a piece of debris from a Void Collective ship. Look familiar? She asked. Rill's scales changed color in surprise. It's similar to their ships. Living crystal. They're not attacking us, Hana said quietly. In their minds, they're trying to repair us. They think organic life is broken, and they're trying to fix it by turning it into crystal form. The room went silent as everyone understood what this meant. The Void Collective wasn't an enemy that wanted to destroy. They were repair crews, just like the humans, but with a completely different idea of what needed fixing. We need to show them, Hana said suddenly. We need to prove that organic life isn't broken. Jaiho nodded slowly. But how? They don't communicate like we do. Then we'll communicate like repair crews do, Hana said. She turned to her screens and started working on something new. Every species has their own repair methods. Humans fix things under fire. 4-armed species use multiple tools. Crystal beings sense structural damage. What if we combine all of these? For hours, Hana worked with engineers from every species. They modified a repair pod with technology from all their cultures. Human courage, alien wisdom, and even crystal-based sensors like the Void Collective used. When they finished, the pod looked strange but beautiful. It contained pieces of every spacefaring culture, all working together. Now we need to show them, Hana said. Not by fighting, but by fixing something together. Do Young understood immediately. We'll invite them to help repair something. Show them that organic life can work with crystal life. They sent the message using the same energy patterns the Void Collective used. An invitation to join in repairing a damaged space station, working side by side with organic crews. For days, nothing happened. Then a single crystal ship appeared near the station. It watched as mixed repair crews worked. Slowly, carefully, it moved closer. Its energy beams changed, becoming gentler, more like the repair tools the organic crews used. They understand, Rill whispered, watching the crystal ship work alongside organic repair pods. They see that different forms of life can exist together. That not everything different is broken. Hana smiled as she watched human, alien, and crystal repair crews working together. Sometimes understanding your enemy just means looking at things from their point of view, she said, even if that view is from inside a crystal. 6 months after the discovery about the Void Collective, the galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. The massive hall of the new Galactic Emergency Response Academy gleamed with lights of all colors. Lieutenant Du Young stood at the front, looking at the graduating class with pride. The room was filled with the most diverse group of repair crews ever assembled. Humans sat next to 4-armed aliens. Scaled beings whose colors shifted with excitement floated near crystal beings who had once been part of the Void Collective. They were all here to learn from each other. Commander Jaiho stepped up to the speaking platform. Today marks the beginning of something extraordinary, he said. We have learned that the greatest repairs don't just fix machines, they fix misunderstandings between different forms of life. Engineer Hana sat in the front row, wearing her new uniform as lead instructor of cross-species repair techniques. She remembered how it all started, with humans being seen as reckless for repairing ships in battle. Now, every species recognized that bravery was just as important as technical skill. Ambassador Rill, now the Academy's Director of Alien Relations, stood up to speak. The humans taught us to be brave, he said, his 4 arms moving in elegant gestures. The crystal beings taught us to see problems in new ways. Together, we have created repair methods that none of us could have imagined alone. The Academy's first graduating class included crews who could fix any kind of ship, station, or system. But more importantly, they had learned to fix the gaps between different species. When crystal beings discovered new organic worlds, they no longer tried to repair them. Instead, they offered to teach their unique repair techniques. Hana walked to the front when it was her turn to speak. 6 months ago, we thought we were at war, she said. But we were all repair crews, trying to fix things in our own ways. Now we understand that the best repairs happen when we work together. She pressed a button, and the hall's ceiling became transparent. Above them, repair pods of all designs moved through space. Human pods flew bold paths between debris. 4 armed crews handled multiple repairs at once. Crystal ships used their energy beams to strengthen damaged structures instead of changing them. Today, you become part of something bigger than any one species, Du Young said to the graduates. You are the first generation of truly universal repair crews. Every technique you've learned, every skill you've shared, makes our galaxy stronger. Commander Jaiho presented each graduate with a special badge, a symbol showing all the different species working together. The badges were made partly of living crystal, a gift from their former enemies who were now valuable teachers. After the ceremony, Hana found Du Young looking out at the stars. Did you ever think it would turn out like this? She asked. When you first started training me? Du Young smiled. Humans have always been good at seeing broken things and finding ways to fix them, he said. But this time, We helped fix something we couldn't even see was broken. The way different species saw each other. As they watched, a new ship appeared in the distance. It was a perfect blend of organic and crystal technology, built by all species working together. It represented everything they had learned. That the bravest repairs weren't just about fixing ships, but about fixing the divisions between different forms of life. The galaxy had indeed broken watching humans repair ships in the heat of battle. But in breaking, it had been rebuilt into something better. A place where every species, every form of life, could work together to fix whatever needed fixing.